Assalamu alaikum and welcome back, listeners, to Parenting Hour. You're tuned into Unity FM 93.5 in the West Midlands and 105.1 if you're tuned into us on Inspire FM. My name is Kathleen, and of course, your host for Parenting Hour, as usual, mashallah, between 5 and 6 p.m. on Tuesdays. You probably recognize the accent now, as I know a lot of people come to me and recognize the accent up and down the country, which is really lovely to see you all. And please do stop me if you do hear it. I'd love to have a chat to you about what shows are important to you and what you like to hear, and the messages we are getting across, inshallah, and how we can improve on those messages. But this evening we have a very wonderful, mashallah, optometrist with us, Hammad Mansoor, who has, mashallah, been working here in the UK for many years and has got a humanitarian medical relief organization and goes abroad with other doctors, mashallah, to help and support those communities and make sure that they seek the right medical treatment. And mashallah, they are so grateful, as he just said before the break, of that treatment, and doing dua for him and his team. Mashallah, we should all be doing dua for him and his team for this work, because it's not easy leaving your family and going abroad and doing work, doing twice as much work that you do here in a day, under hot conditions, with no equipment or little equipment, with maybe you've cut a bug or you've eaten something, or you're not feeling the best, and you're still working away trying to help and support, because your faith is really pushing you in this, and your own values are to help others. Hamid, we're going to come back to you a little bit, and I wanted to find out a little bit more about your day-to-day work when you're abroad like this. You know, you described it here in the UK of your day-to-day work and what it's like, and you couldn't see people from babies right up to 100 and something. I was really impressed that you're seeing people that old are coming in for eye tests. What is it like when you go to Gambia, or when you go to Jordan and see Syrian refugees, and some of the other countries you've gone to? Can you describe what a day to day is like in, maybe it's different from one country to the next?
It's very different from one country to the next. And even within a country, depending on where you're testing and examining patients, it can vary quite a lot. So one day you may be inside a well-equipped hospital or polyclinic type facility. The next day you may be in a refugee camp, and you're like, for example, when we was in Jordan and we went to a makeshift Syrian refugee camp, and we tested within the refugees' tents. So one of the actually two or three of the families that were sharing a tent will give up their tent, and we'd be testing in there for the day. So very little electricity. I think maybe one toilet for the whole camp, just one water supply. So it can vary quite a bit. Normally, what we do, we'll stay centrally in a hotel somewhere, and we will travel out to wherever we're testing. So we normally go for about a week. In that week, we'll have 5 or 6 testing days that we'll have, and it can vary. Sometimes we like to keep some of the teams together, like the doctors, the dentists. We normally keep in the dental clinics because they've got the best setup. But it's the optician team that normally moves about the most. So we may go a little bit more remote. We travel around a little bit more than the other teams. A lot of time when we turn up at clinic, we don't know what we're going to get. We may get a couple of hundred patients. We may get 1,000 patients. Sometimes it's not unheard of that people cross in the smaller countries where people cross the border. For example, the Gambia Senegal border is quite porous. They cross it quite regularly. So when we go to Gambia, we'll regularly see people that have heard about us coming, and they'll come over from Senegal to see us as well.
So people, the word spreads that you're there. You know, it reminds me a little bit of rural Ireland, where I came from. That you know, if somebody comes to the area, the word just goes around from neighbour to neighbour that you're here, there to see people.
Exactly that. So we'll advertise before we come. We'll have the patients registered generally in the different areas. They'll go out in local radio stations, local mosques, local community centres. And it's not uncommon for us to have someone who comes from 4, 5, 6 hours away, or someone who walks a couple of hours just to see us. That's very common when we do these deployments abroad.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, indeed. So, can you just go through the different countries that you have been to, and what if there's a major difference between those countries?
So me personally, I've been to quite a few. I think I started off in Ghana. I've been to Ethiopia. I've been to Burkina Faso, Zambia. I've been to the Philippines, and then I've been to Jordan, Syria. Uh, I've been to Jordan, Syria. There's a few more that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I've travelled across Asia and Africa to quite a few. And they do vary. Even the African countries vary quite a bit amongst them. They've got their different problems in different countries. A lot of time when we go to the African country, they don't have so many political problems. When we go to the war-struck countries like, well, Jordan's not war-struck, but they've got the refugees, and Syria, they've got other problems that they've had to encounter as well.
Yeah, and those countries, like if you're talking about Ethiopia and Gambia, those countries that are in Africa, what kind of conditions are you coming across from both children and adults?
So again, it varies. Some of the children, they've got certain conditions. There's one, for example, river blindness, where they have certain bugs that can cause problems with the eyelids. My first trip actually went to Ghana. We actually encountered leprosy, which I didn't actually even know existed anymore.
Mhm.
We had patients with leprosy come in. That's the only trip I've actually had patients with leprosy. But a community with leprosy came to see us. We see some of the conditions which are, unjustly really frowned upon in those countries, like albinism, the
Mhm.
albinos. In a lot of those countries, culturally, going back centuries, they have an idea. They've got this mindset that in certain countries, that anyone with albinism, anyone who's an albino, is cursed, or they've had black magic done on them, so they get treated really poorly. So we have the albinos that come to us because everyone else is unfortunately refusing to see them. And then there's other conditions that are rife, like glaucoma, very rife in Africa. Not so much amongst the Arab countries that we go to, but then they have the other things that they've got rife, like the diabetes and the high blood pressure. Some countries do vary. Syria is quite unique in the sense that a lot of the people that we're seeing were actually used to quite a good lifestyle before the war broke out, and they were used to seeing opticians and dentists and so forth.
Mhm.
And some of them are from quite affluent backgrounds, but it's just the war affected them. And they had to leave the country, so they're used to a certain level you know of care. And sometimes they'll even question us, saying, "Well, ain't you going to do this, or are you not going to do that?" But we try to explain to them, we just haven't got the equipment or the setup for that. So they're quite unique in that sense. Whereas in the African countries, a lot of them have never had an eye test, never seen a doctor, never seen a dentist. So it's completely different.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose in some of these countries, their diet may be quite poor. And I assume you can explain, please, because I'm just wondering how does diet impact on our eyesight and our eye health? Maybe you can explain, but all I know is about carrots. I've been told to.
Yeah, I mean, yes, their diets are. You can have vitamin A deficiency in particular can affect your eyes. Malnutrition that we see. Uh, High carb diets with what they eat because they eat just a few staple foods. So obviously, it's gonna spike their sugar levels. Just going back to more domestically, I'm a big believer in if you control what goes into your stomach and controlling your what's in your gut and the bacteria in your gut, then it will be beneficial to the rest of your health. So general advice just for the eyes in particular, eating dark green leafy vegetables is very good for you. Things like broccoli, cabbage, spinach, sprouts, kale. Uh, Anything rich in omega-3 is good for you, like the oily fishes. And I know some of the doctors are going to disagree with me on this one, but eating plenty of eggs is good for you. The yellow part of the egg is very good for you. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of medics disagreeing with that once they're listening to this, but in my opinion, eggs are very good for you as well.
Mashallah, that's really important information and I can imagine in some countries where we're talking about a lot of desert, very little rain, there is very little dark greeny vegetables, and there's no seas to have these oily fishes.
Yeah, it's very difficult because we know what to tell them, but whether they're going to get that or whether they're going to be able to afford that in the long term is another issue. So it's not as straightforward as telling someone eat this, cut down on this, cut down on rice, cut down on like your rotis, cut down on whatever they have, which is wheat based. Because you've got to be practical as well. It's not going to happen. And even when the charities go and we give out the charity food aid boxes, some of that may not be the healthiest food that you can eat, but you've got to weigh up, the benefit harm ratio of, you need to feed someone,
Mhm,
and what's easy to feed them with and what can last them and so forth. So it's not
mhm,
always as straightforward as just tell them eat X, Y, and Z because that X, Y, and Z may not be available for them or affordable.
mhm. Yes, indeed. So, just on the back of that, then, what can we be doing to protect our eyesight? Like if we're talking about here in the UK, in the West Midlands, or down in Luton, Milton Keynes, or anywhere that our listeners are tuned in from in Europe, because they maybe listen to this somewhere in Europe. What can we be doing to protect our eyesight and to help our eyesight? uh, Besides eating? Is there other things we need to
So
be
there's
doing?
other things. A few of the big ones is not smoking.
Mm-hmm.
Smoking is a big thing that can damage the eyes. Obviously, it's got other health benefits to giving up smoking, but that's a big one. Wearing a good quality pair of sunglasses, protecting your eyes against the sun. That's a good one. And also for children to spend time outside. Now, this may seem a little bit contradictory because I've just told you to wear sunglasses, but actually spending time outside in daylight is now proven to be good, and it can help slow down the progression of short-sightedness. So the recommendation is for children to be spending at least 2 hours a day outside in daylight, whether that's walking to school, uh, break time, coming home, and so forth. And that's why when COVID happened, a lot more children were spending a lot more time inside. There was a big increase in children becoming short-sighted, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously controlling how much you do close up. Uh, that's another thing, having regular breaks, not spending excessive amounts, because our whole lifestyle now is revolves about looking at things close up. If you may spend your whole working life, a whole working day looking at a screen, and then you get home and you look at your phone for so many hours. So dry eyes is definitely on the increase. You can get drops for that. Again, the omega-3 that I mentioned earlier, that's shown to be beneficial for dry eyes. Some people are just more prone to having dry eyes than others. Yes, it's wearing sunglasses, controlling screen time for children, spending time outside in the sun. They're the main ones, really, and not smoking.
Mashallah. And children, you recommend that they wear sunglasses also, or just that they have a
No,
hat on to
I
protect their
mean,
foot?
ideally, yes, they should be wearing sunglasses, especially the ones that have got the lighter coloured eyes, the iris, the colour part of the eyes, like the light blue eyes. They should be wearing it more because they're more sensitive. There's less pigmentation in the eye. But yeah, as a general rule, we should all be wearing sunglasses when we're outside in the sun.
MashaAllah, mashallah. We don't often think of that indeed, and we go out in the sun. And I know there's a lot talk around sun creams and protection and wearing hats, but we should also be looking at that of what we're doing and wearing sunglasses. I was interested when you said about outside and at least 2 hours, our kids spending that time outside, which is we didn't think of this. We do, I grew up in an era that we were outside most of the time, and we were blessed to be outside. But nowadays, so many of the young people are on devices. Even though we're trying to encourage parents to relook at that and to encourage them to be out in the park and out playing football and out walking and enjoy the outside time is much better for them, mashallah, for their health in general, but also for their eyesight. Um, I could actually agree about being close on the computer and doing close eye work like this. I remember my eyesight got worse when I was studying. Every time I was doing studying or typing up articles or things like this, I was found after a few months afterwards, my eyesight got worse. So I've had
Yes, for some,
experience.
there definitely is a link between doing an increased amount of close-up work and becoming more short. Not for everyone, but for some people, definitely, that there is that increase, definitely, and research does show that. And also, one thing I forgot to mention is just to try to avoid using devices, say an hour or so before you go to bed, because it can affect your sleep pattern as well.
Okay, very good indeed. So we talked about protecting your eyes and making sure that our eyesight is well protected. If there is some vision loss, can we reverse that, at any time? If you've picked up early, can things be reversed?
It depends what it is. Some
Hmm.
things, yes, you can. Some things you'll never recover from. Some things you'll lose your eyesight
Hmm.
if it's not treated within a certain time scale. So if anyone has any problems, it's better to be seen immediately as opposed to just thinking it's just going to go away. It'll just resolve itself. Because I'm forever seeing patients who have waited and paused and stalled getting seen, and then it's too late.
Hmm.
I mean, I can ring like the eye department. They're saying we really need to see that patient within a day of it happening, not a month later.
Mm.
So, to urgency, is important for some of the conditions, not everything, but for some of the conditions.
MashaAllah. So, listeners, if you're listening in to this, maybe you haven't been to have your eyes checked recently, or you haven't taken your children recently, put a date in the calendar. I know today is Tuesday. Put a time in tomorrow to ring, to make that appointment, to go and get yourself seen and go and get your children seen, to have that checkup, because we have so many people here in the UK that can do this, and it's available for us. Whereas some of the countries that Brother Hamid has been talking about, they're waiting, they're crossing borders to come and see somebody, to get that test done, to get to be seen, to have somebody look at them, mashallah, and help them and support them. And we are very blessed to be in a country where we have that at our fingertips. Brother Hamid, if we talk a little bit, go back a little bit again about your organization as a humanitarian relief organization. You talked about lots of disciplinaries coming together, mashallah. So you have different people from different fields doing, from, I would say, the head to toe examinations of those people. Do you see people um, growing in this field, more people wanting to get involved in doing this work, giving up their time, giving up their leave to go abroad to help others? Or is it at a standstill now? Or are things, people not doing this? How do you describe it from your experience?
I think there is an increase in people wanting to go, but me personally, I think it's still nowhere near the level it should be. I think as medics in general, we across the disciplines, we really need to step up and realize that how Allah has blessed us with the skills that we've got and the ability that we've got, and we should use that to benefit those that are less fortunate than ourselves. A lot of medics, and I've gone through this for decades now, where I've asked them to come, and there's always obviously some will have very valid reasons for not being able to come, but a lot will just have excuses and say, you know, they'll look to pick faults in maybe what we're doing, or they'll have their own excuses about why they can't do it. But at the end of the day, like I said, where there's a will, there's a way. Uh, we really do need to up our game. Everyone, when people often say, the time is not right for me at the moment, I've got this on, I've got that on. I don't think I've ever been on a trip where technically it was the right time for me to go. There was always something that was planned at that time. So there's generally, for most of us, there's never a right time. The other thing I would say is a lot of people are reluctant, they overthink things. Yes, take your precautions. Sometimes we get people volunteering who are not suitable to go. They've got certain medical conditions that prevent them going, or that, for example, they may be heavily pregnant or so forth, and we advise them not to go, or they've got very young children. And I feel sorry for them because they really want to go, and the people that are able-bodied don't want to go.
Mhm.
So everything's mixed up. But the setups are there. People need to appreciate that, like I say, you just got to do the best that you can with whatever provisions, Allah has provided for you. I also say to people, there's a lot of reward of ajr to be gained, a lot of sadaqah jariyah. uh, Not all of us are going to be memorizers of the Quran, scholars of the religion, teachers. Obviously, it's good if you could be those, but we need to realize that in order to gain it, well, there is that little niche where we can excel, and we should be up in our game. I think as a percentage, I think Muslims amongst any profession, any medical profession, we're at least probably 20, 30%, if not more. And yet, in terms of who is actually going, we're probably in the hundreds a year, if not maximum like 500 to 1,000, which is, like minuscule in relation to how many of us are qualified. So I think we do need to up our game. Uh, I know I always mention this and people, my friends laugh at me, but Richard Branson had a famous quote where he said, if someone gives you a good opportunity, accept that opportunity and then later on think how you're gonna what you're gonna do to be able to go and take that opportunity up because people overthink things and then it shaitan whispers to them, oh, you don't need to go and so forth. So I think as a general advice we need to up our game, get involved. Doesn't have to be with myself, it can be, there's plenty of charities that are going out, they're good charities as well, well established charities doing excellent work.
Mashallah, yes,
Mashallah.
definitely. There is a lot there. From your perspective, when you go on out, and some listeners may be motivated this evening to actually pick up the phone, and we'll give your details in a few minutes for around that, so that they know where to contact you if they are. But they may be thinking, like, how many weeks is this? So, how many weeks do I need to do this? And how much money do I pay for my own airfare out? And how much roughly do I need to have saved for this? And how much roughly do I need to have saved for food? Can you just describe a little bit of the logistics around trips?
So it varies where we go, because some of the flights are quite expensive. For example, when we go to like where we're booking Sri Lanka, especially at the moment with the current climate, direct flights are coming in at close to 900. So it does vary, but just ballpark figures of hotel and flights, you're looking at anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500. Normally the food is covered. Apart from maybe your evening meal, breakfast is almost definitely covered by the hotel. Lunch will provide in the clinics. Dinner, it depends on whether we've got a half board hotel or if we've got if volunteers prefer to do their own stuff. But generally, the food is inexpensive in these countries, so you're looking at maybe 1,000 to 1,500 each. A little bit more if you're one of those who likes to stay in your own hotel room, as some volunteers specify. In terms of, we do ask volunteers to fundraise. Normally we're not overtly strict on it, but we like to see that a volunteer can raise £2,000 each, which is quite low compared to a lot of the other charities. When
Mhm.
you go on a non-medical deployment, a lot of the charities, Islamic charities, normally ask for minimum 4 or 5,000 to be raised per volunteer. So they're the sort of general costs that you're looking at. In terms of how long we go away for, it's normally a week. We normally go away for 7, 8, 9 days with 5, 6 days testing, because sometimes travel can take up 2, 3 days.
Yes, exactly. And you might need a day traveling, a day to recover in that.
Exactly
So,
that, yeah.
yeah, so you're talking about, a week, 10 days in total, I suppose 10 days maximum.
Yeah, probably not even 10 days. It's probably normally more like 7 nights. That's sort of like an average. One other thing that we're quite unique with compared to some of the other charities, some also do the same, is that we do like to do some non-medical humanitarian stuff with the charities as well. For example, in Ghana, there was work that we done with the orphans. We opened water boreholes in villages that had very limited water supplies or dated supplies. So we do like to try and get involved in that and raise amongst, normally mostly raised amongst the volunteers, where we do fund non-medical humanitarian projects that the charities are doing as well. So we like to get involved in that as well.
MashaAllah, a lot of work there, a lot for you listeners to think about this evening, MashaAllah, and how you can help and support and fundraise. And if you're not able to go, maybe you could fundraise for somebody else to be able to go, that can give that knowledge and that help and that experience, inshallah, and they're able to support others out there. Can you give us your contact details? Excuse me.
So so HMR's got a website, www.humanitarianmedicalrelief.org.uk. So that's probably the best point of contact. Otherwise, I'm on LinkedIn as well. If you just, I don't know if you're allowed how you're to spell on the radio station, but it's Hammad Mansoor. My name, HAMMADMANSOOR. And then we've got a email for humanitarian medical, which you'll find on the website.
MashaAllah. And if you didn't grab that, please do phone in the studio on 0121 772 8892, and our studio managers will be able to pass that on to you again, inshallah. We're ending in just 1 minute, brother. Time went so quickly. Is there any key messages and tips you'd like to give in the last minute of the show?
No, just to say to be involved, try your best to be involved. Uh, be involved, help with the fundraising, even if you can't go, at the least, make dua for the teams. We do appreciate, all it takes is one person's dua to be answered, and just to be active and to be supportive as well. Because sometimes we do face a lot of difficulties. It's not easy. And sometimes people do need to bear with us because, the unexpected can happen when you're on these deployments.
That is true indeed. Be prepared. Do your du'as, have your intention, inshallah. If you make your intention today, Allah will enable you to succeed with that intention and be rewarded for it, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, brother. We had a wonderful hour with you, and thank you for giving up your time to explaining what you do. And congratulations on all the awards that you've won. We're
Fine, you're
so
welcome.
proud of you to have won all those awards, mashallah. Listeners, if you want any more information, do contact the studio. And otherwise, we will tune into another show next week, inshallah. And take care and have a good week. Assalamu alaikum.
Can I just add the email address? I forgot to give
Yes,
you the email. So the email address to contact is info@humanitarianmedicalrelief.org. So that's the easiest way to contact us.
amazing. Have a good week, listeners. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam.